Narco constructions. When you are constantly pursued by law enforcement, it's always convenient to have your own private hospital, always at your complete disposal. That's why today I will talk to you about the raid carried out on El Mencho's private hospital and take a look to two others narco constructions financed by various cartels in the beautiful and paradoxical Aztec country, a country where perpetrators and benefactors can strangely become one and the same. Before we continue, let me remind you to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave us your powerful like and comment, as your support is what makes this investigative project possible. Now, without further ado, let's begin. The Mexican army carried out a raid on a private hospital in Jalisco, which is known to have been used by Mexico's cartels to treat their injured members. This operation is a stark reminder of the continued presence and power of the cartels in Mexico, especially in states like Jalisco. In principle, the establishment of a new hospital shouldn't be bad news in a country as severely affected by the coronavirus pandemic as Mexico. The problem is that this story revolves around not just any healthcare center, but the perfect hospital that was allegedly built by arguably the country's most dangerous drug trafficker following the capture of El Chapo. According to official intelligence information published by the newspaper El Universal, the Meso Seguridad Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, allegedly had a healthcare center built in the municipality of Villa Purificación, in the state of Jalisco, western Mexico. The leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, now 58 years old, suffers from renal failure, which complicates his refuge in the mountains of Jalisco, Michoacana, and Colima. Villa Purificación is the heart of the territory of the Jalisco Cartel, so it seems entirely feasible to us that El Menchos can operate as he please, says Chris Dolby, an expert in organized crimes in Latin America from the Inside Crime Foundation. Mexican media have reported that the hospital would not only serve the drug traffickers, but could also serve the local population of this municipality, with just over 30,000 inhabitants. A private hospital, for and by a drug trafficker. The possibility, which for many brothers sounds surrealism or surprised Eduardo Guerrero, a specialist in organized crimes at the consulting firm Plantilla. In Mexico, cartels have been criminal organizations for many years that have invested many resources in social projects, he explained in an interview with DW. They build hospitals, schools, pave streets, finance sewage works, and so on, Guerrero says. In some places, they function as agencies combating extreme poverty, which has brought them a very broad social support base. And it's alarming to know that Mexico has one of the highest poverty rates in Latin America. Many Mexicans constantly work and live day to day, constantly requesting improvement in their communities from the government, something that has never been done in years. So, amid the precariousness that many communities in the Novo Mexico Pueblo live in, ironically, those who bleed and harden the most are the ones who have invested the most in public works. And I want to be cautious here. At no point does this imply favoring these abhorrent criminals such as drug traffickers. Instead, it's about clarifying that they know how to exploit the needs and precariousness of the people to their advantage. The hospital in Jalisco in Villa Purificación, although it has been raided several times without finding a trace of the criminal leader, cannot be dismantled or disabled. The 10,000 residents of Villa Purificación are also treated there since this community has been in need of medical attention for years. Certainly, what the CJNG is doing is not exclusive to them. They are not the only ones. According to Inside Crime, there have been several historical examples of cartels and criminal groups in Mexico providing essential goods to local communities, such as food packages during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, it's rare but not impossible for drug traffickers to build infrastructure such as hospitals and schools, and has been seen. The Familia Michoacana and the Templar built a series of schools that were needed in Tierra Caliente, Guerrero, said Mexican journalist Oscar Valderas. It's specializing in organized crime to inside crime. However, let's remember that La Familia Michoacana has also been responsible for mass murder with explosive drums, as happened a few months ago, and the next Templar heavily extorted agricultural producers. In the state of Veracruz, orange producers had long requested the government to build better roads to sell their products more easily. Since the government never did it, Los Zetas built many of the roads connecting Veracruz and Tamaulipas, especially between Tuxpan and Tampico. There are of course atrocities linked to Los Zetas. Remember that this dangerous cartel was once linked to the disappearance of entire communities. They used the tactic of carrying out charitable wars to gain popularity and favoritism among the population, and then commit genocides where countless innocent people are killed in the process, shamelessly blaming the authorities. Unfortunately, in many instances, people are not favoring this criminal because, despite the violence and fear generated by them, ironically, they are the ones who, at times, provided certain services that the people needed. This is the most horrible and aberrant aspect of this type of manipulation by drug traffickers, taking advantage of people's needs to justify the constant war, violence, and death in which they have submerged our nation. Another example of this was Caro Quintero. Robles Bañuelos described the drug trafficker as a benefactor of the people of Sinaloa. Even that during his criminal career, his commissioned public works that contributed to the modernization of his homeland. At that time, Robles Bañuelos admitted to the seizure that Carlos Quintero's image was positive for the inhabitants of Sinaloa. He explained that, in the early 80s, the former leader of the Guadalajara cartel ordered the construction of a road of over 40 kilometers to reach Badiraguato. Likewise, he spearheaded electrification in the mountains with the governments of that era. He pointed out that the drug trafficker built the stretch from Badiraguato to Santiago de los Caballeros, where he is presumed to have married Maria Elizabeth Alanes, with whom he had 4 children. In this regard, Bañuelos assured that Quintero's work benefited the inhabitants of those years, as the time to reach the high area of the municipality was considerably reduced, in addition to contributing the greater communication between communities. However, let's also remember that the Guadalajara cartel, of which Caro Quintero was a capo, committed crimes including extortion, kidnapping, murders, bombing, in addition to drug trafficking. After all, it was a drug cartel. The impact of these cartels on Mexican society is devastating. Many communities economically depend on the illegal activities carried out by these criminals, creating a vicious cycle of dependence that reinforces the power of the cartels. Corruption and infiltration into institutions further complicate the government's fight against these groups, affecting the country's stability and development. Continuing to the topic, the Capas Hospital will be located about 50 kilometers from the municipality, according to El Universal, an area especially controlled by his cartel. It was recently made public that Oseguera Cervantes was experiencing health problems and, at 58 years old, he is reportedly suffering from renal insufficiency. Specifically, the facility will be located in the community of El Alcihuatal, a village with around 2,000 inhabitants dedicated to agriculture and livestock. The municipality of Villa Purificación has around 10,000 inhabitants. This same place is where a federal helicopter was shot down in 2015 in the middle of an operation to capture El Mencho. This site has become an ideal hiding place for the criminal leader, with the natural protection of the nearby mountains. The hospital not only serves El Mencho but also people from his inner circle and is also available to the community. Therefore, dismantling the facility will condemn the people of this town to give out their nearest healthcare center, although law enforcement seemingly conducts constant inspection at the hospital. It is unlikely that they will never catch Oseguera or any close member of his circle, since everything that happened in this municipality is known to the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The Mexican army, along with other law enforcement agencies, has been fighting against Mexico's cartels for decades. Despite the government's effort to combat the diversity and influence of the cartels, these criminal organizations remain a powerful force in the daily lives of many Mexican communities. The fight against the cartels is a difficult and dangerous task. They have no qualms about using extreme adversity and manipulation to protect their interests and maintain control over the drug trafficking business and other criminal activities. The role of the army in this fight is crucial. Mexican forces have played a key role in capturing cartels' leaders and have often faced the resentment of communities that see these criminals as benefactors above the authorities. They are viewed with suspicion due to the history of corruption present in all institutions. The dismantling of illegal substance trafficking networks and the protection of the civilian population is an enormously challenging and, in most cases, dangerous task that often results in soldiers and security personnel losing their lives in the line of duty. The raid on the private hospital in Jalisco is another example of the Mexican government's ongoing struggle against the cartels. Also, in this case, it may be more of an appearance than anything else, as authorities have their hands tied regarding this healthcare facility. It is suspected that the hospital is used by the Mencho cartel to treat these wounded members without leaving a trace of its activity. This operation highlights the sophistication and reach of cartel operation, as they are capable of infiltrating legal institutions such as private hospitals to carry out their activities. In this case, even building their own with supposed resources from the governments of Jalisco, the raid on the private hospital in Jalisco is perhaps a way to maintain appearance. After all, it has been criticized internationally that narcotic leaders have their own hospitals in Mexico. However, the international community does not have the complete context of these narco constructions. It's not just the boldness of the cartel led by Eusebio Cervantes, but before him, there have been several narcotic leaders who built the part of Mexico infrastructure seeking community support. On another note, it's worth highlighting that El Chapo never built any type of public infrastructure. His fame and perhaps misguided admiration from certain communities stem from his notoriety as a criminal boss and his constant escape from the prison where he was incarcerated. Sadly, the Narcos are deeply intertwined with Mexican society, not only as their executioners and murderers, but ironically as benefactors in different public works necessary for the community. It's a complex paradox, where the only thing that stands out is the extent of corruption present in the various Mexican governments throughout the country's modern history. After all, how is it possible that they have never been managed to complete a road by the government? At least in Veracruz, and sadly, the Zetas has built most of these roads, facilitating the work of farmers and improving the area road network. It's ironic how the inefficiency of previous governments has almost thrown the populations into the arms of the cartels. This duality is present in today's Mexican society. The cartels are their main executioners and murderers, criminals who have bled the soul of the Mexican people for decades, but also paradoxically complete a significant number of public works for the population. This complex panorama comes to us with the echo of the same news from the title. Although they raided El Mencho's private hospital, the truth is that it will be continued to operate and it has become an indispensable service for the community where it's located. However, it is our duty to explain this reality to the world. The Narcos are not benefactors. They are manipulative sociopaths who seek to buy the affection of the same people they murder. Mexico lives in a complex reality, with the hope of one day getting rid of this scourge of criminality and living a dignified life with access to quality services, because it is their right as citizens of Mexico and not because some criminal leader wants to play a role of a narco benefactor. However, don't just take my word for it. Leave your opinion in the comment sections. That's it for today's video. If you like our content and want to support us, remember to subscribe, activate the notification bell, and leave your powerful like. Your support makes this investigative project possible. For now, I bid farewell until the next video.